Good evening, and welcome to another spooky episode of Codo Cinema, the podcast show where I talk about movies. I bid you welcome as your host, the man, the myth, the horror, the legend, Mark Codo, aka Codoman. Well, here we are, another episode of Codo Cinema for Codo Cinema Horror Month. And for this episode, I'm going to talk about Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. Boy, oh boy, we got ourselves a good one, folks. I mean, Tim Burton's Corpse Bride is definitely a good one. This is his, I wouldn't say it's his first animated feature film. I mean, his first animated feature film was Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. However, he didn't direct The Nightmare Before Christmas. It was Henry Selick. So, technically, Tim Burton's Corpse Bride is his first ever animated feature film to be in the director's chair for. This is Tim Burton's third time being involved in an animated feature film. However, I should say this. This is his third stop-motion animated feature film that he was involved in. I mean, besides Nightmare Before Christmas, he was involved as a producer for James and the Giant Peach, to which Henry Selick also directed too. So Tim Burton's Corpse Bride is Tim Burton's third ever stop motion animated feature film to ever work on in the stop motion animated feature film category. However, Corpse Bride is Tim Burton's first ever stop motion animated feature film to be in the director's chair for. So the film came out in 2005. And Tim Burton, yes, he directed the film, but of course he had Mike Johnson on board, with a screenplay written by John August, Caroline Thompson, and Pamela Petler. And then Tim Burton was also involved in creating the characters, along with Carlos Granjo. Tim Burton produced the film as well, alongside with Alison Abate. And of course, it stars Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. I will tell you this: I have seen multiple Tim Burton films before. I've seen a lot of Tim Burton films in my lifetime. I've seen Beetlejuice, the first two Batman movies with Michael Keaton. I was reading Nightmare Before Christmas, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Corpse Bride, the live-action Dumbo remake, Dark Shadows. I mean, this guy's been making films left and right. I mean, he has made a lot of films. Actually, going back to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for a sec, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out the same year as Corpse Bride. And in fact, Tim Burton went back and forth between Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Corpse Bride. It was actually produced simultaneously, so they had to go back and forth. So basically, they had to go back and forth between the films. The film Corpse Bride took place at 3 Mills Studios in East London, and it was shot with Canon EOS 1D Mark II DSLR cameras rather than the 35mm film cameras used for Burton's previous stop-motion films, Nightmare Before Christmas, because in The Nightmare Before Christmas he used a 35mm film camera that he used on the Nightmare Before Christmas, and the rest is basically history. Although, of course, as I mentioned, you already got Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter on board. And then you also have Emily Watson, Tracy Ullman, Paul Whitehouse, Joanna Lumley, Albert Finney, Richard E. Grant, Christopher Lee, Michael Goff, among many others, including Deep Roy. Also, Danny Elfman also plays a character in this movie as well, but he's also contributed to writing the music for most of Tim Burton's films, including Corpse Bride as well. So yeah, that's basically your lineup of this. That's basically the lineup of this movie. So I'm gonna break down this movie according to plan. Let me dive on into Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. So the film opens up in an unnamed Victorian era town, and the film features Victor Van Dort, who's being voiced by Johnny Depp. Now, Victor Van Dort is the son of a nouveau riche fish merchant, and of course, Victor Van Dort, he's going to get married to Victoria Everglot, who's the neglected daughter of the impoverished aristocrats, preparing for their arranged marriage, which will simultaneously raise the social class of the Van Dort family and restore the wealth of the Everglot family according to plan. So that's how the film opens up. But the way how this film opens up, like it gives you a little bit of a world building too. Like part of this film is black and white. Like the opening, it's like it's so gloomy and depressing, especially Victor Van Dort. He's depressed, but he's also at the same time he's shy as well. Like Victor Van Dort, he's a timid but good-natured young man. And as I mentioned, he's going to get engaged to Victoria Everglades for social and financial reasons because Victor Van Dort is basically the son of Novu Riche fish merchant's father because his father runs a fish merchant business. And what I really like about this opening is that like Victor is drawing this butterfly. Like it opens up very well. He's drawing this butterfly in this book, to which he also keeps a butterfly for himself. It's a blue butterfly. I don't know what butterfly species it is, but I know it is a blue butterfly. You get this depressing music from Danny Elfman. Like it's depressing, but also whimsical as well, and it really fits the opening very well because Victor is very shy, a bit depressing too, but he is a kind-hearted man as well. Literally, like he shows kindness, like when he sets the butterfly free, like he sets this blue butterfly free from his house and into the open world where we see this village, this entire village, so that you get this world building for this movie, and it's pretty good. It's a small Victorian era like village, and for the most part, it's very gothic, as with most Tim Burton movies, but also a little depressing too. We also get introduced to a con artist who's just walking around town, and his name is Lord Barkis Bittern, who is a con artist, and he's a charming con artist, and he's just walking around town. He's being voiced by Richard E. Grant, and this character, I will say this, I get that he's basically your stereotypical charming man who has done nothing wrong, but unfortunately he has done something. His reveal There is a reveal that he has done something that is real bad. But I'll get to more of that later for Lord Barkis. But anyway, we get we get a musical number. We get a musical number, the first musical number of the film from Danny Elfman, and it's called According to Plan. So it's a musical number. It's a musical number that Danny Elfman wrote, and it sets up the scene very well. Like like it sets up very well because Victor's parents are helping Victor, to get married, and they're going to the Everglade house, which is actually right across the street. But hey, but I mean, I don't understand why they're going in the carriage. They're going in this carriage just so they could go across the street to the Everglades, even though like they could have just walked, which is a nitpick of mine. But hey, whatever. At the same time, the musical number is very good. I mean, like the first lyric alone is saying, "It's a beautiful day. It's a rather nice day. A day for a glorious wedding." First of all, it's very gloomy outside, but I get it. It's a song. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. It's a song, but even though it's gloomy outside, but you know what I'm saying. Hey, at least it wasn't raining. It wasn't raining during that time, so I'll give Danny Elfman that. So they're going. So basically, they're basically doing this rehearsal, a wedding rehearsal. It's a wedding rehearsal they're going to. And what really sets this moment up is where, like, we see Victor's parents first, and then we also zoom on into the Everglades, which is a Victoria Everglades family who are being played by Joanna Lumley and Albert Finney. Joanna Lumley plays Lady Magdalene Everglades, who is Victoria's abusive, large-chinned, unloving mother, while Albert Finney is Lord Phineas Everglades, Victoria's abusive, unloving, barren father. So, yeah, it really shows that Victoria's parents are not the best parents, but of course, I mean, you could also make the argument that Victor's parents are not the best either, even though Victor's parents are more they're a lot more kinder than Victoria's parents, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, like both of these parents, like during this musical number, like the main lyric was basically the title is according to plan. They're doing this they're setting up this wedding rehearsal just so Victor and Victoria could get married because obviously it's one of those eras where where a couple is being arranged for marriage, and this is basically for a social clash. You know, like one family is poor, then the other family is rich, so they're getting married. They're getting married just so they could get like those those riches, the money. You know, that social class thing. So that's what this musical number is describing, like according to plan. So anyway, the song ends, and then the Van Dorts and the Everglotts walk inside this huge mansion, which is the Everglot mansion. They all introduce themselves, and one of my favorite moments from that scene is when Victoria's father struggles to smile, like Victoria's mom is like, "Smile, darling, smile," and it's pretty funny too. It's pretty funny too when it comes to Victoria's father trying to smile. He's like, "Well, hello there. Welcome to this house." Like you see, like he barely smiles. Like one side of his lip is down, while the other side of his lip is basically up. Like he's pretending to smile. Oh my goodness. Has Victoria's father ever smiled? Is that what's going on in that scene? oh, by the way, going to Victor's parents for a sec. Victor's parents are being played by Paul. But they're being like Victor's parents are being played by Paul Whitehouse and Tracy Ullman. Victor and Victoria's parents continue to have this conversation. They go into the like the parents go into the other room to keep on talking according to plan, basically to discuss about the wedding plans and the rehearsal and all that and all that. And Victor walks over to a piano and he plays the piano for a bit. And the song, it is Victor's song, but what Victor is playing, he's playing piano sonata number 14, which was written by Ludwig van Beethoven, and it's written in C sharp minor. It's got that arpeggio to it. It's in C sharp minor for those of you who may or may not know about this song. And it starts off in a C sharp minor, and it's arpeggiated, which is basically arpeggio. And arpeggio, which is a music term, it is described as a broken chord in which the notes that compose a chord are individually sounded in a progressive, rising or descending order. So that's what you're hearing from this piano composition that Victor is playing, and it's very good. So Victoria hears Victor's performance, and she comes downstairs, and she's being played by Emily Watson, and she comes downstairs, and well, obviously she interrupts Victor's piano performance, and although the two are nervous, they're nervous. It's like they have met. It's like they're meeting for the very first time, because it's hinted at the beginning. It's like while driving with his parents in that carriage to the Everglot mansion, Victor's like, "What? It's like we never met. Like, wouldn't she marry to a lord or something? Like what if she doesn't like me? I mean, what will happen?" Like that's the whole manner that's the thing that Victor mentions, like something like that in the movie, like what if Victoria doesn't like Victor? But at the same time, like they're both very nervous because they never met. And they do in this scene for the very first time. They are nervous at first, and they fall in love instantly when they met. So this is like love at first sight. This is like love at first sight for what's happening in this scene. However, However, Victoria's mom shows up, and she was like, "What on earth is going on? You two are not should not be alone together. Come, we gotta get this wedding rehearsal going." So basically, Victor and Victoria go in. I mean, wow, it sounds like a tongue twister. Victor, Victoria, Victor, Victoria. Doesn't that sound like a tongue twister? You got two different characters with Vic in it. You got Victoria and Victor. Doesn't that sound like a tongue twister to you? Maybe it's just me, but I'm just saying. But anyway, Victor and Victoria go into the other hall for the wedding rehearsal, and the two are standing in front of this pastor. His name is Pastor Coswells. He's being voiced by Christopher Lee. And Christopher Lee, he does a very good job. In fact, all the voice actors do a very good job with the roles. Like they do a very good job. Like all the actors do a very good job with the roles. With the roles. And going back to Pastor Coswell, going back to Pastor Goswells or Coswells or Goswells or is it Goswells? Is Yeah, it is Goswells. Goswell. Yeah, it is Goswell's. Like going to Pastor Goswell's, like Pastor Goswell's is a haughty and bad-tempered priest who is hired to conduct Victor and Victoria's wedding ceremony. Like he's in this room. I'm pretty sure it's basically they're basically in this room doing this wedding rehearsal, and the pastor is basically telling Victor to like read the vows, like say these vows, like with this candle I will light your way through darkness. With this hand I will lift your sorrows. With this ring I ask you to be mine. I forgot what the rest of the vows were, but those are some of the vows that are said in this very scene. And Victor struggles with this. Like he doesn't remember his vows because, like I said, this is him getting arranged to be married. Like this is him in obviously in a rehearsal for an arranged marriage. And everybody in this room, are not impressed. Well, actually, Victor and Victor's parents were like, oh, okay. He's struggling a little bit, but okay. But Victoria's parents looked at Victor and were like, what's this young man doing? Is he screwing up everything? Oh my goodness. Victor is struggling with in this situation, and the pastor is like, "Oh my goodness, why did I get hired to do this?" Like the pastor's he's just standing there. He's just standing there with a stern look, and he loses his temper on Victor because Victor struggles with his vows. Like the pastor is like, "Do you wish to be married?" And Victor's like, "No. Of course, I mean, yes. I mean, no. Like this ends up in disaster for Victor. It gets interrupted by Lord Barkis. Like Lord Barkis walks on in saying, "Apparently I'm a day early for the ceremony." Yeah, sure, you're a day early, Lord Barkis. Like he walks on in. He walks on in so calmly, like as if he was a perfect gentleman. Like he just walks on in just to just to watch the whole rehearsal fall into flames. Speaking of which, it does for a little bit when Victor drops the ring from his hand. It rolls on into Victoria's mom, and he grabs the ring from Victoria's mom. Like it went under the skirts, and Victoria's mom. And wow. I mean, like wow. Tim Burton, like wow. There are like moments in this film where it goes over the heads of many people, if you know what I'm saying. And then what happens next is like Victor accidentally lights the dress on fire. Just basically the lower part of the dress. It's like it's up in flames, and everybody's trying to find a way to put it out. Even the pastor who's holding the book, he closes it, and he gets this look. He has a look on his face of like, oh my goodness, I'm done with this. And then Lord Barkis just walks on in, pours wine on the dress just to extinguish the fire. What comes next is the pastor is like, enough! This wedding cannot go on until Victor is properly prepared. Like he looks at Victor, points at him as well, and he says, young man, learn your vows. And Victor's parents, including Victoria's parents, all look at Victor in their scowlful, sternful face in a scowlful way, and Victor just leaves. That's what he does. He leaves, and And it cuts back to Lord Barker says, "Whoa, I will definitely say he's quite the catch." Like, oh my goodness. Like Lord Barkis was able to catch on to this disaster of a rehearsal, I should say. Oh, that is messed up. I mean, to be fair, Victor did screw himself over, but he did screw up everything in this rehearsal. Like yeah. So anyway, he's outside. He is standing outside. He's basically standing outside on this bridge, like he is depressed. Like he's depressed. He is so depressed and upset at the fact that he screwed up the whole rehearsal, all because he couldn't remember his vowels. And Victor is like, oh man, I can't believe I did this. Like like what's next? Is there anything bad that can happen next? What comes next is this Victorian news reporter who has a bell in his hand, and he's like, hear me, the whole wedding rehearsal falls in chaos. Victor just hears all that, all because he says, "What will happen next? What is there anything bad that can happen next?" And then you get this news reporter who's just basically ringing his bell, saying, hear me, wedding rehearsal, and disaster." And he sees Victor on the bridge because Victor is the only individual outside for now. But it's nighttime anyway. I mean, it's nighttime, so it would make sense because the rest of the village are probably fast asleep in their homes. By the way, doesn't that news reporter look like a bell to you? Like his whole costume and design looks like an actual bell. Pretty much makes sense since he has a bell in his hands, tolling along to spread the news, to spread news to the village, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, Victor walks into the forest all alone, and he tries to remember his vows for a bit. He believes that he has become such a fool. Like that's what Victor thinks. Like Victor thinks he's such a fool he can't remember his lines. Pretty much explains why the rehearsal ended in disaster. So, but then for a moment he remembers to think positive. He brings up the courage to remember his vows, and for the moment, it seems as though as he remembered his vows. He pretends that he's at this rehearsal thinking that the tree branches and the tree stump are basically the Everglots. And it seems as though Victor's got it. Victor has remembered his vows and he's being confident. For once, he's being confident. Instead of him being this timid, shy, and depressed person that he is, even though he is well mannered and kind hearted. But at the same time, he's starting to bring up he's got courage now. Now he's got courage because he just remembered his vows. And then the final moment comes in when he pulls out his ring and puts it on a tree branch, pretending that it's Victoria's hand, saying the final vow. With this ring, I ask you to be mine. And that's it. But unfortunately, what Victor doesn't know is that he just put a ring on the hand of a corpse, because what comes next is the corpse bride rising from the dead. Like she's coming out of the grave, like she's floating. It's like she's floating out of the grave as she is ascending into the real world. And once she heard Victor's vows, she says, "I do." Like Victor doesn't realize what he was doing. Like, yes, he remembered his vows, but what he doesn't realize, he doesn't know that this was a corpse that he brought back to life. Like, Victor runs away from this corpse. Like he runs away from the corpse, although he gets bumped into several different objects. He gets bumped into a tree. He slips on ice, and then once he gets to the bridge, like he thought he escaped the corpse bride, but no, the corpse bride is there. Like she followed Victor to the bridge, and what I really like this next moment is the camera is spinning around. This is a DSLR camera that is being used in this scene. But well, not just this scene, but the entire movie as well, because Tim Burton used a DSLR camera for the entire film instead of his 35 millimeter camera. So this camera spins around as if something was gonna happen, and the corpse bride leans in on Victor and says, "You may now kiss the bride." And she kisses Victor, and this next scene opens up with Victor in the land of the dead. Like he wakes up in the land of the dead, and Victor wakes up in the land of the dead, a realm that is far more colorful and whimsical. Like this land of the dead, it's a colorful and whimsical realm. So there's like color in this in this land. There's like color in this realm. In this realm that Victor just woke up to. Like Victor thinks that he is in hell, but the thing is, this is the land of the dead. So basically, he's meeting all the dead people in this realm, and he's like, "Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!" He thinks he's having a nightmare, but that's not true because Victor's alive, and he's alive. He's not dead. He's not a corpse. I mean, Victor's not a corpse. He's still alive, and he sees all the other characters in the land of the dead are basically having a good time. Like they're in this bar. They're in this bar celebrating the newlyweds. You get this one dwarf character. His name is General Bones Apart, which is like, oh my goodness, Bones Apart, General Bones Apart. Like he's being voiced by Deep Roy, and Bones Apart, he's basically Napoleon Bonaparte. Very clever, Tim Burton. Ha ha ha. Very funny. Oh my goodness. Like, General Bones Apart is like, a toast to the newlyweds. It's just, oh my goodness. And then you get all the other characters too. Like, he even sees this elderly chef. He sees this elderly chef. Is like, oh my, a new arrival. So he meets this waiter who's basically a decapitated head. He's French, by the way. And he comes on in, he's basically floating on bugs because obviously he's a decapitated head. He's like, "Bonjour! Oh my goodness! We got newlyweds!" And then he sees a room. He also sees a skeleton band as well, and they're all having a blast. And Victor's like, "What's going on? Where am I? I want questions. I got this dwarf in my hand, and I want questions. Where am I?" Bones Apart's like, answers. I think you're asking for answers. And then Victor's like, oh, thank you. What's going on? What the Corpse Bride? Her name is Emily, by the way. That's her name. Emily's the Corpse Bride, and Emily's like, well, it's a long story, but we get this moment from Bone Jangles, who is basically who's a skeleton, and he's the leader of the skeleton band, and Bone Jangles is like, what a story it is, a tragic tale of the Corpse Bride. And Bone Jangles is being voiced by Danny Elfman. Like, you have Danny Elfman writing the music, and he's playing a character, and he's playing a character in this movie named Bone Jangles. Is Bone Jangles related to Jack Skellington? Because Danny Elfman did the singing portion for Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas. So is Bone Jangles related to Jack Skellington? Just asking. So anyway, Bone Jangles just opens up a musical number called "The Remains of the Day," and it's a very good song. Remains of the Day is actually my favorite song from this movie. Like, I mean, to be honest, it's basically your exposition dump for the most part, but it is a very good song. It's got a jazz tune to it. Like, this song features a skeleton playing a piano, which who is wearing sunglasses. Obviously, references to Ray Charles playing piano. He also wears sunglasses too. And Bone Jangles is having a blast with this song. Like, he's telling the story of the Corpse Bride. Like Victor wants to know, like, why is he in this realm? Why is he with this Corpse Bride? And it's a very fun, upbeat, jazz-like musical number, and it's very good. And Danny Elfman, I gotta give props to Danny Elfman. He really delivered. He delivers this song very, very well. Like, the lyrics are literally describing like the whole Corpse Bride situation, but also like the realm as well. It's basically like, here are the lyrics for this: die, die, we all pass away, but don't wear a frown, cause it's really okay. You might try and hide, you might try and pray, but we all end up the remains of the day. Yeah, 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 yeah. Like those are the lyrics. Like those are some of the lyrics that are being played in this musical number. Like part of this exposition goes into Emily. Like Bone Jangles explains the situation. He says, "Here are the lyrics for this. Well, our girl is a beauty, known for miles around. When a mysterious stranger came into town, he's plenty good looking, but down on his cash. And our poor little baby, she fell hard and fast. When her daddy said no, she just couldn't cope. So our lovers came up with a plan to elope." Like those are the lyrics. It introduces Emily, who is basically who's a girl beauty known who's very well known in her beauty, and she meets this stranger. It's a mysterious stranger who came into town, plenty good looking. Like so, basically, she thinks this stranger is nice and good looking. So they wanted to meet up again, but Emily's dad's like, no, 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 we cannot let this happen. So they decided to plan to meet up late at night, and they told not a soul. So Emily and this stranger told nobody about this whole situation, but she also wears her mother's wedding dress to fit like a glove. Those are some of the lyrics again. Here we are going to the lyrics of the song. Now, her mother's wedding dress fit like a glove. You don't need much when you're really in love, except for a few things or some told, like the family jewels and the snatch of gold. Then next to the graveyard by the old oak tree on a dark, foggy night at 2:45, she was ready to go, but where was he? Like Emily is all ready. Like he's ready to I'm pretty sure they're about to get married, which is what Bone Jangles is saying, because Emily is wearing her mom's wedding dress to get married to this stranger, and it was 2:45, dark and fog. It was a dark, foggy night, and then the thing, but what really happens next and during this song is that Emily was killed. Like she was left for dead. Like she was left for dead. Like where was this stranger? What really happened? Well, it turns out here's a lyric for this one. There in the shadows, was it her man? And then her little heart beat so loud, and then baby, everything went black. Like those are the lyrics, but what we see in the scene is like Emily's in complete shock. She sees this Jack the Ripper like stranger, and he goes after Emily. Like he kills her. He kills her. Well, do we know who the stranger was who left Emily for dead? Well, I will explain more of that later on. But anyway, Bone Jangles finished the song, and Victor just runs out of the bar. Like he has enough of this. He wants to get out of this hellhole and go back to the real world. Like Victor is freaking out, saying, "Oh, Charles, listen, I'm not dead. I'm not dead." Like he's scared to death. Like he just met this corpse bride, even though it was more of an accident. It was more of an accidental situation. But Emily was like, "Victor, where are you, Victor?" Like she's trying to find Victor because Victor and Emily are basically newlyweds. And what I like about this chase sequence a little bit is like Victor is just basically trying to hide from Emily. Like he hides in this coffin pretending that he's dead, and then he gets awakened by this Black Widow spider. Like this this spider's like, oh, you're married. Well, I'm a Black Widow. And then Victor is like, go away, spider. Like he hits the spider, and then the spider was like, look, Emily, Victor is getting away. It's just, oh my goodness. And then Victor climbs up the walls he climbs up this cliff like he's Spider-Man. And then Emily looks down at Victor and is like, you can use the stairs, right? So basically, it's Victor and Emily now for the moment, and Victor tries to explain the whole situation, but Emily reunites Victor, reunite, but Emily gives Victor a wedding gift, and the wedding gift actually turns out to be Victor's long dead dog, Scraps, and the two bond. Scraps and Victor bond together, and Victor is so happy. Like we see Victor being so happy in this scene because he realizes that Emily just gave Victor a wedding gift, which is basically Victor's dead dog Scraps. Like, he misses Scraps. And it's also revealed that that Victor's mom would not allow Scraps in the house. Would not allow Scraps is a dog. Scraps is the name of the dog that Victor bonded over, and it's a very heartwarming moment too, knowing the fact that Victor just Victor just reunited with his long dead dog as a wedding gift from Emily. Although Victor doesn't have a wedding gift yet. So what does Victor do? What Victor does as a wedding gift, he tricks Emily into returning to the land of the living by claiming he wants her to meet his parents. So, and Emily is surprised, like Emily is getting a gift from Victor. So what they do now is Emily brings Victor to this skeleton elder. I can't get his name. I can't get the characters. I can't get the name of the character, but he's being voiced by Michael Goff, who played Alfred in the Tim Burton Batman movies with Michael Keaton. And the elder is a kindly ruler of the underworld who grants them temporary passage to the land of the living. And then before they go to the land of the living, the elder tells the two, like, if you want to come back to the land of the dead, say the passage, hopscotch. Yeah, hopscotch. Like hopscotch, as if it sounds like you're jumping into different worlds. I'm pretty sure that's basically what it means. Hopscotch, basically you're jumping over different squares, but it could also be another meaning to jumping over different realms. So I'm pretty sure that's what it means. So Victor and Emily are in the land of the living, and they're in the land of the living, back in the forest of where they first met, and for a while, it seems as though Emily is having a good time too. Like, she is ice skating on this icy gravel, and she's ice skating, and what comes next is that Victor tells Emily to stay put. I'm gonna go find my folks, because he's trying to surprise. He's basically Emily's waiting for a surprise, but what Emily doesn't know is that Victor just left her in the forest just so he can go see Victoria. Even the crows notice it too. Like, they're hanging around on the tree branches in the forest, and they know something's up. So later on, Victor goes to the Everglot mansion and he reunites with Victoria and confesses his wish to marry her as soon as possible. And before Victor and Victoria can share a kiss, Emily discovers the two, and she's wondering, like, who is this? She's wondering, who is this woman? And Victor is like, uh-oh. Like, yeah, Victor, you done it again. You screwed up big time. Like, Victor screwed up the whole wedding. Like, Victor screwed up the whole wedding rehearsal, and now she cheats on, and then he cheats on Emily. Yeah. Victor got caught in the crossfire. Yeah, he just got caught cheating. Oh boy. Oh boy, Victor is screwed now. And then Emily feels betrayed. Like, Emily feels betrayed. And like, she feels betrayed and hurt, and drags Victor back to the land of the dead. And she says hopscotch. Emily says hopscotch with an angry look on her face. Like, she is mad. She is mad right now. Emily is mad as hell right now, as she drags Victor back to the land of the dead. And Victor screams for Victoria's name. Like, he screams her name, Victoria! He screams for help as Victor gets dragged back to the land of the dead. And yes, Victor is back in the land of the dead, and Emily is so upset. Like, she's so upset. Like, Emily is like, Victor, you try to leave me for her? She's the other woman. But Victor is trying to explain, like, this is a misunderstanding. Like, he's trying to tell Emily that Emily's the other woman and Victoria is Victor's love. But of course, Emily says, no, I'm your girl. Victoria's the other woman. And and the elderly skeleton who was able to help bring Victor and Emily back to the land of the living, he's like, He's just up there saying, she's got a point. Boom. Gotcha. He got you, Victor. Sucks for Victor. Really sucks for Victor, knowing the fact that he just messed everything up. He just literally screwed himself over, man. And Emily feels bad, man. Like, she feels real bad. She is upset. And one of the final blows of this conversation comes is when is basically Victor. I forgot what Victor said, but it literally splits the two apart. It's like Victor's like, maybe we're not meant to be together. That's basically a final blow. I forgot what the line was, but it was like a line that literally the final nail in the coffin, no pun intended, for Emily and Victor to split up. And it's real sad too. But anyway, later on, like back in her room, she's upset and she sees the Black Widow, and of course a maggot inside her head, and this maggot is basically Emily's sarcastic friend who lives inside her head and acts as her conscience. And he's being played by N. Wright. He's being voiced by N. Wrighto, although N. Wrighto is basically putting in this Peter Lorre like voice, like obviously basically a parody of Peter Lorre, this for voice impression. So the three have this conversation, and it does lead into another musical number. Basically, it's a depressing musical number as it was a way to cheer up Emily, but also telling him maybe Emily and Victor should get to know each other a little more. Like, that's like this whole musical number, which ends with Victoria shedding a tear as it drops down in front of the maggot and the Black Widow, and the two leave. Going back to the land of the living, Victoria tries to tell her parents of Victor's situation, but nobody believes her. They assume he has left her and she is going mad. But the thing is, like this comes in full circle when Victor's parents and Victoria's parents are having this conversation, and when Lord Barkis comes on in to bring in the news from this bellhop guy bell ringing news report to this bell ringing news reporter, who's basically the town crier, but I see him as more as a news reporting bell, as his bell ringing news reporter about the Victorian era, who's like, Harry, Victor Van Dorn has met with this mystery woman. Like, Lord Barkis just brings this town crier in, and to literally spread in the news about that Victor has gone off with this woman. But what they don't know is that Victor is off with this corpse. That Victor is going with this corpse bride. They don't know that this woman is a corpse bride. But Victoria knows of this corpse bride, but the parents don't believe her. But of course, but the result of that, Victoria's parents literally locked Victoria up in her room. Well, she tries to escape. She escapes once in the night, in the middle of the night, just to go see Pastor Goswell. He sees Victoria out in the rain. He's like, "What are you doing out there?" And Victoria tries to explain to the pastor that Victor is with a corpse bride. At one point, the pastor is like, "Okay, we'll have this conversation. Come with me." Like, Victoria and the pastor have this conversation, but it turns out that the pastor brings Victoria back to the Everglade mansion. He tells the parents that Victoria is speaking in tongues and unholy alliances, basically believing that Victoria is crazy. That's what's going on. The pastor and the parents believe that Victoria is going crazy, all because she sees Victor with a corpse bride, and she gets locked up in her room again. And then Lord Barkis comes on in and talks to the parents, saying like, "Oh my goodness, this poor child. I was once betrothed, but it never went through." Like, it's revealed that Lord Barkis was going to marry a woman at one point. He was once betrothed, but it never went through. He talks to Victoria's parents, and they actually came to agreement to have the wedding continue on, have Victoria be wed to Lord Barkis. This was arranged according to plan. We get this next scene where where Victoria and Lord Barkis are getting married. So they're basically getting married, and so they're basically the newlyweds. So later on, back in the land of the dead, Victor and Emily reconciled and they learned to get along. They reconcile by playing a piano, and it's a very cute moment too. Like we see the two getting along. They're setting like we see the two setting their differences aside and play piano for fun, and they laugh and of course they just love playing piano. They just play the piano, and they cheered each other up. It's just a heartwarming moment. And then Victor and Emily they hear the bar bell ring. They hear the bar bell going off, realizing that there's a new arrival. So everybody in the bar, so everybody in the land of the dead come to the bar. They to check out who's the new arrival. Well, it turns out it's a coachman named Mayhew, and Mayhew is the Van Dort's smoking coachman. And what I mean by smoking, I'm not talking about oh he's smoking hot. I'm talking about he's smoking like he's a smoker, if you know what I'm saying. But well, you're probably wondering how did Mayhew end up? You're probably wondering how did Mayhew end up in the land of the dead? Well, I guess you could say it's pretty obvious that he's a smoker. But it turns out Mayhew was driving the carriage with Victor's parents to go on this mission to find Victor, but Mayhew dies from coughing because he was coughing himself to death, lost consciousness and a breath of air, and he turns blue after losing air and falls off the carriage, getting run over and left for dead. Like that's how Mayhew died, and Victor's parents were in that carriage. They were still in that carriage, and as the carriage was riding off. And by the way, that's the end of Victor's parents. We don't see Victor's parents throughout the rest of the movie. So you're probably wondering, what happened to Victor's parents? We don't see them after that scene. So what happened? I mean, I don't know. It's left up in the air. So I don't know what really happened to them. So they're probably still alive in that carriage, but I'm not really sure to be honest. I mean, it does like the film what doesn't really explain the aftermath of Victor's parents. But anyway, Victor sees Mayhew, like he sees Mayhew, who's being played by Paul Whitehouse. He's actually happy to see Mayhew. He's like, and Mayhew is like, "Oh, hey Victor, oh, it's good to see you. I'm doing fine." And like Victor's like he's wondering what happened to Victoria and everybody else. Well, Mayhew tells him that Victoria is married to this person. Like he didn't remember who the person was. Well, it was obviously Lord Barkis, and Victor was upset by the news. He's so upset by the news. He decides to marry Emily properly, learning that this will require him to repeat his wedding vows with her in the land of the living and drink the wine of ages, a poison in order to join Emily in death. Like the elderly skeleton explains to Victor that if he drinks the wine of ages, like he goes on this path, drink the wine of ages, he will never again go back to the land of the living. And Victor accepts this. Like he decides to accept the marriage, get married to Emily, and take it upstairs, which is basically the land of the living. So he invites everybody in the land of the dead to come together and get ready for a wedding. Which leads us to another musical number by Danny Elfman, which is basically the wedding song. A wedding, a wedding, like a wedding, a wedding. Like it's a very whimsical musical number. Like I really like how everybody in the land of the dead they're literally getting ready for the wedding. Like we see all the Black Widows sewing up Victor's suit. We even see everybody. We even see this elderly woman who is basically the chef from that bar who's baking a wedding cake, and everybody and the rest of the land of the dead are getting ready for a wedding. So after the song, we cut back to the Everglot mansion where it's very depressing. It's a very depressing it's a depressing hall at that moment where everybody's just basically at the table, at this long table. They're about to have this wedding cake, and I actually really like the line that Mayhew dropped on Victoria marrying to Lord Barkis, saying "Oh well, they're probably doing they're doing this wedding just so they don't waste the wedding cake." Like, oh my goodness. Oh well, to be fair, well, you can't waste a wedding cake, so there's that. But Lord Barkis was about to deliver a toast, and he noticed something is up. He noticed something is up. Like he realized that he noticed something is up. Something is up. Like the land of the dead is coming to the land of the living, and everybody's freaking out. Like it all started when Victoria's dad looks down in the soup and sees an eye, and he's like, "There's an eye in me soup." Everybody in the room, in the room screams. Even Lord Barkis hides under a table. Like Lord Barkis hides under a table. He's scared, and everybody else just runs away. Even the Everglot's butler runs out of the situation. He's like, "Screw this, I'm out of here." And then like everybody, like all the characters from the Land of the Dead are literally popping up. Even Victoria's father sees one of his great grandfathers, and this great grandfather sees his great grandson. He's like, "Hey, grandson, hey, sonny," and the Everglots screamed. They freaked out. They hide in their bedrooms, and that's the last we see of the Everglots. Like we don't see the Everglots for the rest of the movie. Like they hide in the bedroom of their mansion, and it's just pure chaos, as if all hell was breaking loose. And what comes next is that a kid, one of the kids from the Land of the Living, sees one of the members of the Land of the Dead as his grandpa. Like he sees his grandpa. Like it's basically his dead grandfather, which leads to the moment where everybody in the village realizes that that is their dead relatives. They all meet their dead relatives and friends, especially and their dead relatives and friends. Like it's as if they missed each other. So what comes next is Lord Barkis crawling out of the table, and he's basically telling Victoria, "All right, that's it. We're gonna gather every single money we can and leave this place." But it turns out it was revealed that Barkis just exposed his own financial situation, saying that he's basically poor. So basically Barkis exposed his own poor financial standing and his intentions to marry Victoria, only for her supposed wealth. Like he thinks Victoria is wealthy, but that's not the case, because remember in the beginning, Victor is wealthy. Victoria is not wealthy. So basically, Victoria and Barkis are both poor people, and this leads to a reject from Victoria. Like Victoria rejects Lord Barkis according to plan. And what comes next, Victoria witnesses Victor and Emily's wedding, as Victor is coming close to completing his vows and prepares to drink the poison. And actually, before that, we cut to all the members. We cut to the Land of the Dead going inside this church, and Pastor Coswell is like, "No, you shall not enter this church. Go back, back, back." But one of the members of the Land of the Dead tells the pastor, "Keep it down. We're in a church." Like, oh my goodness, they just roasted the pastor. Wow. Like, in this movie, like the Land of the Dead just roasted the pastor. Like the pastor's like, "What just happened?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some creature from some creature from the Land of the Dead just roasted you, telling you to keep it down. We're in church. Yeah. But anyway, going back to Emily and Victor. Victor and Emily are basically completing their vows as Victor prepares to drink the poison, only for Emily to stop him when she realizes she is denying Victoria her chance to live happily with him. And just as Emily reunites Victor and Victoria, Lord Barkis arrives to kidnap Victoria, and Barkis is like, "Oh, I really love a happy ending, but you are forgetting one thing. Victoria is still my wife." Like he's about to take Victoria hostage, only for Emily to recognize Barkis. Like Emily sees Lord Barkis, and Barkis is like, "Emily?" And Barkis is like, What? I left you. And Emily says, for dead. So it turns out that Lord Barkis was the one who left Emily for dead. So basically, Emily not only the chorus bride, but he left her for dead. Like he left her for dead. Like, wow. Like Barkis is a murderer, a psychopath who killed his supposed fiance. And Barkis is like, this woman doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, he tries to leave with Victoria. He has her hostage with a with 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 bones apart sword. Can't believe I'm saying this. Bones apart. Like bones apart. He takes bones apart sword from him to torture Victoria, and basically telling everyone, if anybody comes any close, this woman gets it. But Victor is like, take your hands off of her. So Victor and Barkis get into a fight, and it's a fight in the church. It's a pretty cool fight, knowing the fact that Victor has the upper. Technically, Victor has the upper hand because Barkis is basically being foolish in the fight. Barkis was about to stab Victor with the sword, but Emily comes on in and gets stabbed by Barkis, and Barkis is like, touche, my dear. But Emily tells Barkis to get out. But before Barkis leaves, he accepts his defeat, and he mockingly toasts Emily for dying. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And Barkis's last line before he drinks the wine, he doesn't know it's the wine of ages, the poison wine that the elderly skeleton put out. It was supposed to be for Victor, but Lord Barkis just snatches up. And here's what Lord Barkis said to Emily as his last line. Tell me, my dear, can a heart still break once it's stopped beating? That's his last line. Like, can a heart still break once it's stopped beating? Like, I don't know what that line means, but I think the scene speaks for itself. Once Lord Barkis drinks the wine, he's about to walk away, but the maggot, one of Emily's friends, really wants to kill this guy, but the elderly skeleton is like, wait, we must not intervene. Let reality sink in. And it really does, because Lord Barkis's heart stops beating, and his face turns blue, like he's dying, like Lord Barkis is dying, and 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 was literally like, this is literally karma for Lord Barkis. So what comes in, like, he is dying, like Lord Barkis is dying, allowing the dead, who cannot interfere with in the affairs of the living, to take retribution against him for his crimes. So they took Lord Barkis to the land of the dead. And I really like this last line from the chef, as she's about to close the door. And she says, "New arrival." Yep, they got a new arrival. The door closes, and that's it. That's it. Lord Barkis is dead, and the land of the dead are basically back. Well, except for the elderly skeleton. I'm pretty sure he goes back too. So everything's all set and done. So Emily, now freed from her torment, releases Victor of his vow to marry her and returns his ring, allowing him to marry Victoria. And as she steps into the moonlight, and she goes into this moonlight, and as she steps into the moonlight, she transforms into a swarm of butterflies that fly into the sky as Victor and Victoria watch and embrace. And that's the end of the movie. That's literally the end of the movie. And this last scene, what I really loved about this scene is how this scene comes in full circle from the beginning of the movie, because Emily transforms into butterflies as she is ascending into heaven. But the butterflies behind it is because Victor had a butterfly in the beginning of the movie that he set free, and it's a blue butterfly. It's a blue butterfly that he sets free in the beginning of the movie, and we see now, we see the blue butterfly, but it's multiple butterflies that are blue. multiple blue butterflies that are flying in the air as they're ascending into heaven. And this resembles Victor setting them free, setting the butterflies free. It also resembles Emily. Like Victor just sets Emily free. And that's what we see from the butterflies. And it pays off very well. That's some very good foreshadowing. Like it pays off so well in this final scene as Victoria is ascending into heaven. And that's it. That is the end of the movie. That is Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. It's a pretty short film for the most part, and for what it's worth, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. The runtime of this movie is 77 minutes. Like it's a 77-minute movie, which is still good, but for what it's worth, it's still a pretty good film. The stop motion animation is very good. The stop motion animation is very good. The voice acting is very good too, particularly from Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. The music by Danny Elfman is very good too. Tim Burton's direction is very good as well, and I love the story behind it as well. In fact, this movie was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature Film, but lost to another stop motion animated feature film, Wallace and Gromit's The Curse of the Rare Rabbit. Another good movie as well for stop motion animation. But other than that, not much else to say. I really enjoyed this movie. The acting is good, the music is good, the direction was good, story was good too, and so forth. Like everything in this movie is very good. I wish the movie was a little longer. I know it does feel very short, but at the end of the day, I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it for what it is. A very good movie. I think it's a very good movie. But anyway, what do you all think? What did you think of Tim Burton's Corpse Bride? Have you seen the movie? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? I would like to hear your thoughts. Thank you all for tuning into Codo Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codoman. Remember to watch movies, stay positive, and good night. Until next week.